What is good, you guys? What is going on, y'all? I hope all of y'all are thriving and doing well. You guys, I am back with another video. So in this video, what I want to talk about is the covert narcissist collapse, right? What happens? What happens during the covert narcissist collapse? And y'all, I've seen this happen more than once. I've seen a covert narcissist collapse more than once, up close and personal. Y'all, it's a sight to see. I'm here to tell you. If you've ever been with the covert narcissist before, and you stop, I said that wrong, and you stop validating them and giving them all these compliments and being a source of supply, when you start shutting down on them and treating them insignificant as if they don't matter, you guys, they go through a collapse, right? And a collapse is when a narcissist's source of self-worth, it like malfunctions, okay? You stop giving them all these compliments and just like validating them and, letting them just be right all the time about everything. You're always agreeing with them. You're on their side about everything. They feel like, you believe in the facade. Everything is going good in their eyesight, right? When you stop doing all these things and you stop being there for them and they can't regulate their emotions through you any longer, they go through a collapse, y'all. And if they have no other sources of validation, they start to feel like they're losing control of things they once controlled. They will spiral. Y'all, I'm so serious. And what specifically happens is that their false ego starts to crumble, right? Their false identity that they have installed around them has been consistently validated by the source of self-worth, right? They've probably been doing this for years, probably decades, right? When the validation stops, they are suddenly confronted with the reality that their false self isn't actually real and isn't actually worth anything to anyone anymore. They lose their identity. And this is extremely distressing to them. This is really no joke. No lie, y'all. This is no joke. They feel like they are dying, I promise. And they get very scared and terrified, right? They get very scared and terrified. They lose their their self-control. They lose their sense of how to behave. Their mask just crumbles. And all that is left is a helpless, dysfunctional, terrified child. This is what you get. This is as close as you will ever get to meeting their true self. No lie, y'all. And this might sound overly dramatic, but this can really happen when the narcissist doesn't get the supply they need. It is not a pretty picture at all. Y'all, I have seen where they will sleep for days on end because they can't stand up to face reality. When you stop giving them what they want, when you stop validating them, when you stop making them feel like they're the man or they're the woman or everything you do has something to do with them, or they're just not in control anymore, they lose this, and you just snatch it back. You snatch your power back. You don't give them anything. You're not feeding the false self. Y'all, I promise you, they will crumble. And you got to watch sometimes, too. Because a lot of times, they will rage. They will act really, really crazy when they realize that they have lost. Sometimes they will go into rage. Not all of them, but a lot of them will. And this is where they try to scare you back into their control. Well, guess what? It never worked with me. I didn't care how much they rage. But a covert narcissist cannot take losing control. They can't take you invalidating them. They can't take you making them insignificant. They can't take you ignoring the false self. And when it starts to crumble, the sight is very, very ugly. Make no mistake about this. If they can't sleep this off, they will get up and do all types of things, just constantly starting fights and arguments. They'll try to get away from you if they possibly can. But when they have no other sources of validation, not only are you not validating them, but somebody else isn't doing it either. They don't have any other sources of supply. It's just them and their true self. Y'all, they can't stand that. They can't face the true self. Not at all. This is when they will lose it a lot of the times. Make no mistake about it, covert narcissists collapse all the time. When they stop getting what they want, when all control is lost, it goes back to that real self. And they can't even face the real self, right? They have lost their whole identity, right? Because, they put a bunch of people together and use people's identity. They become this thing that they put together. They take pieces of everybody that they glue together. to create this false self around them, right? Like this fortress around them. And when this crumbles, they have nowhere else to turn. And so they will go through a collapse. And y'all, it is nothing pretty when you see this, when you notice this. They can't hide it. This is when that mask will crumble. I mean, it will fall, and you will see the worst of the worst from that covert narcissist. And it happens more than often. Most people don't even notice when they collapse. When they're sleeping a lot, or they're trying to just like constantly start a lot of fights and arguments, when they're just always trying to do something, find a way to get under you, when they've lost control. Y'all, they can't handle it. Covert narcissists cannot deal with losing supply or not having anything to fall back on, right? They can't go through this. They don't know how to deal with it. Mind you, it don't stay like that. Because they recover just fine. They find new ways to validate themselves, maybe a new opponent, as people will say, a partner, but they're partners with nobody in my eyesight, right? So maybe a new opponent, somebody who's validating them currently, and they put the pieces of the false self back together. That's what they do. They'll mend it all back together, and they'll carry on. But it happens to them more than often, y'all, that this false self around them will crumble. When you stop feeding the beast, guess what? It all falls down. And it happens more than often. Most people don't even notice that the covert narcissist is actually going through a collapse. It happens a lot, y'all. But that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time.